Welcome to the Lincoln Bio Podcast, your one-stop destination for life-changing insights on health, wealth, legal education, relationships, and more. Ready to level up? Let's dive into the knowledge designed to transform your life.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Today, we're going to be taking a deep dive into The Expendable Employee.
Oh yeah, by Tris.
That's right, by Chris. And, we know a lot of you out there are looking for ways to navigate this crazy job market these days.
It's tough out there.
Yeah, it's really tough, and maybe take a little bit more control over their future. And,
For sure.
we thought this book would be a great place to start.
I think so too, especially since Chris has some really interesting insights from his time in the corporate world and then later as an entrepreneur.
Exactly. Yeah,
So on both sides.
It's fascinating how he kind of weaves his own story into it throughout the book.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't just talk about these concepts like in a vacuum. He actually shares his experience going from those high-stakes days in the mortgage industry,
Oh yeah.
think steak dinners and big bonuses,
Yeah.
to practically living on ramen noodles when the market crashed.
Wow. What a swing.
Mm-hmm.
And then rebuilding his career in insurance only to face layoffs again.
Oh, wow.
Talk about a roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
It really sets the stage for understanding just how unpredictable the employment world can be.
It definitely makes you realize that nobody's really immune to those shifts, right?
Right.
And, the thing is, he doesn't just focus on surviving layoffs.
Right.
He actually challenges that whole go to school, get a job, retire path that so many of us were raised with.
Right. Yeah, and this is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
You might think, okay, so that old way isn't really working anymore. What's the alternative?
Right.
But instead of just presenting like, okay, here's the new formula,
Yeah.
he really digs into these nuances.
Mhm.
He explores the pros and cons of, being an employee, the signs that a company might be heading for trouble,
Mhm.
and most importantly, like how to break free from that feeling of being stuck in a job that's not really fulfilling.
So it's not about like throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
You're right.
It's more about taking a step back and reevaluating the whole system.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the book actually starts by taking us way back to like the roots of that traditional career path.
Oh, interesting.
In the chapter titled The American Way of Employment.
Okay.
Chris gives us this historical tour showing how that whole idea, go to school, get a job, retire, became so ingrained in our culture.
Yeah.
It's fascinating to see like how education became such a cornerstone,
Right.
and how even the concept of retirement transformed over time.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
But then he brings us back to the present.
Okay.
And highlights how this model is being challenged in today's world, especially with technology changing the job market so rapidly, and the gig economy and all that.
The gig economy. Yeah.
So yeah.
It's like we're at this turning point.
Yeah.
Where those old rules don't really apply anymore.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And Chris acknowledges that this can be unsettling for a lot of people.
Oh, for sure.
It's not that the values of education, hard work, planning for the future, they're irrelevant.
Right.
It's more about recognizing that maybe the ways we achieve those things might need to evolve a little bit.
Okay, yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And I think that leads us perfectly into the heart of, the employee experience, which Chris tackles in the chapter called The Employee's Dilemma.
Right.
He lays out those classic pros and cons.
Yeah.
Stability versus control.
Yeah.
The potential for career growth within a company, but also the very real risk of being laid off.
Yeah.
Sometimes through no fault of your own.
Exactly, yeah. And remember, he's speaking from experience here.
Right.
I mean, he uses those vivid examples from his own career in the mortgage and insurance industries to really illustrate these points.
Yeah.
Think about it. You're working hard, you're hitting your targets, maybe even getting those steak dinners and bonuses.
Right.
But then, the market takes a downturn, or the company decides to restructure, and suddenly you're on the chopping block. And that's the dilemma he's talking about, that constant tension between feeling secure and feeling vulnerable.
It's like you're always walking this tightrope.
Yeah.
Never quite knowing what's around the corner.
Right.
But, one thing that struck me about this chapter is it's not just about fear-mongering.
Right.
It's not just trying to scare people.
No.
It's actually about empowering you to make more informed choices.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's about recognizing that you do have a choice in how you kind of navigate this landscape.
Yeah.
Do you want to prioritize stability
Right.
and work within a system, or do you crave more autonomy and control, even if it comes with, a little more risk?
Right. Yeah.
There's no right or wrong answer.
Yeah.
It's really about knowing yourself and what you truly value.
Right. It's about figuring out what kind of work environment and what level of risk you're comfortable with.
Exactly.
Yeah, and understanding these bigger forces
Yeah.
at play in the job market, like those shifts in technology and
And
the rise of remote work
absolutely.
that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, and this is where understanding the signs of a potential layoff become crucial.
Yeah.
It's not just about being paranoid.
Right.
It's about being informed and proactive.
So what kind of signs should we be looking for?
Well, Chris outlined some really specific red flags. So
Okay.
things like consistent decline in the company's financial performance,
Okay.
rumors of mergers or acquisitions, changes in communication patterns from leadership, even subtle shifts in employee morale or behavior.
Oh, wow.
All of these can be indicators that something is brewing.
It's almost like learning a new language, right?
Yeah.
Decoding these signals
Yes.
that the company is sending out, even if they're not explicitly saying anything about layoffs.
Exactly. And while this information might feel a bit daunting, it's important to remember knowledge is power.
Yeah.
The more you understand these signs, the better equipped you'll be to navigate uncertain situations and make informed decisions about your career.
It's about being, one step ahead of the game.
Right.
Yeah.
And one thing that Chris really emphasizes is that businesses, at their core, are really about people.
Mm-hmm.
He dedicates a whole chapter, The Pillars of Success, to exploring this, human element.
Oh, that's interesting. Tell me more about that. What does he say about that?
Well, he argues that it's the collective energy, the collaboration, the genuine recognition of individual contributions that truly drives a company's success.
Okay.
And this isn't just about being a good manager. It's about a fundamental shift in perspective that can benefit, anyone, whether you're leading a team or you're part of one.
So it's about seeing beyond just the bottom line and recognizing the value that each person brings to the table.
Precisely. It's about creating a culture where people feel valued, respected, and empowered to contribute their best work.
Yeah.
And I think this ties back to the idea of the expendable employee.
Right.
When people feel like just another cog in the machine, their motivation and their loyalty tend to dwindle.
Yeah.
But when they feel seen and appreciated, they're more likely to be engaged and committed to the company's success.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think it's something that all of us as employees can relate to. It's about feeling like your work matters, like you're making a real contribution.
Yes.
But it's also about, recognizing your own value.
Right.
And not settling for a work environment where you feel expendable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this brings us to a really relatable challenge that Chris addresses in the chapter called Breaking the Time Loop.
Okay.
He talks about that all too common feeling of being stuck in a rut at work.
Yeah.
Where you're going through the motions, the days kind of blur together, and suddenly you realize you haven't really felt alive in a while.
Oh, tell me about it. It's like you're on this treadmill working hard, but not really getting anywhere.
Yeah. And the thing is, it can happen to anyone, even if you're, technically successful in your career.
Right.
Chris argues that breaking free from this time loop is essential for reclaiming your time, your energy, and ultimately your life.
Yeah.
He encourages finding ways to inject more passion and purpose into your daily routine, even if it's just small changes at first.
So it's not about quitting your job and running off to a deserted island.
Not necessarily, although that might not be a bad idea for some of us.
Yeah, true.
But seriously, Chris's advice here is incredibly practical.
Okay.
He talks about incorporating mindfulness practices into your day, carving out time for passion projects outside of work, even something as simple as making sure you're truly present
Right.
and engaged during, those precious moments with loved ones.
Yeah.
So
it's about being intentional with your time and energy.
yes.
And making sure that you're not just going through the motions.
Exactly. And I think that's a perfect segue into the next part of our deep dive,
Okay.
where we'll explore some of Chris's more actionable strategies for building a more secure and fulfilling career path.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Welcome back, everyone. We left off talking about the importance of being aware of those potential red flags in the workplace.
Right.
Those subtle signs that might hint at trouble brewing ahead.
It's about being proactive, right?
Yeah.
And having a plan.
Yeah. And one of the core pillars of Chris's advice
Mm-hmm.
revolves around building that solid foundation of financial stability.
Yes. This is
He dedicates a significant portion of the book to discussing those practical steps that you can take to diversify your income and create a safety net.
For sure.
And I love this part because he doesn't just throw out these vague ideas like, oh, you should have multiple income streams.
Right.
He actually gets into specifics.
Yeah, it does.
Like investing in index funds, real estate, or even exploring the world of online business.
Mm-hmm.
He shares his own experiences, dabbling in real estate, starting an online business.
Right.
And how those ventures not only provided, financial security, but also taught him valuable lessons about entrepreneurship.
Yeah, it's about not putting all your eggs in one basket, right? As the saying goes.
Right.
If your primary job takes a hit, you've got something to fall back on. Exactly. It's like building a financial fortress with multiple streams of income flowing in like rivers.
Oh, I love that. That's such a great visual.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people hear diversify your income and think it's like this complicated, overwhelming thing.
It sounds scary to some people.
Yeah, and Chris breaks it down into such manageable steps, even for those of us who aren't, financial wizards.
Right, and he emphasizes that you don't have to be a millionaire to start building this financial fortress.
Yeah.
Even small steps like setting aside a portion of each paycheck for investments or exploring a side hustle a few hours a week can make a big difference over time.
Yeah, it's about building that sense of security and control over your financial future.
Absolutely.
Which ties back to that whole idea of empowerment, right?
It does.
You're not just at the mercy of your employer or the economy. You're actively shaping your own financial destiny. Yeah. And financial stability isn't the only path to empowerment that Chris explores.
Right.
He also talks extensively about the importance of finding work that aligns with your values, your passions, what you genuinely enjoy doing. He even goes so far as to say that your work should feel like an extension of who you are.
Yeah.
Not just a means to an end.
It's so true.
Yeah, this resonates with me so much because I think so many of us get caught up in chasing that paycheck, climbing that corporate ladder, or we're just trying to keep our heads above water.
Right.
And we lose sight of what truly matters to us,
Yeah.
what makes us feel fulfilled and engaged in our work.
He challenges us to think differently, to move beyond just earning a living, and towards creating a life of purpose. He encourages us to ask ourselves, what am I good at? What do I enjoy learning about? What kind of impact do I want to make on the world?
It's about finding that sweet spot, right? Where your skills and passions intersect with a genuine need in the world.
Exactly. And it might not be like a traditional job, It could be starting a business, freelancing, working for a nonprofit, or even volunteering your time for a cause you believe in.
Yeah.
The point is to find something that gives your work, meaning beyond just a paycheck.
Right. And it's not always about making a drastic career change either.
Right.
Sometimes it's about finding ways to infuse more purpose into your current role. Maybe it's taking on a new project that aligns with your interests, or mentoring a colleague, or even just shifting your perspective on how your work contributes to the bigger picture.
It's about recognizing that you have more agency than you might realize.
Yeah.
You can shape your work experience even within the confines of a traditional job.
Yeah. So how does Chris recommend going about actually identifying these passions?
Well, he provides some really practical exercises and prompts.
Okay.
He encourages you to reflect on your childhood dreams.
Oh, wow.
The activities that bring you joy, the topics you could talk about for hours. He even suggests revisiting things you were passionate about in the past. Maybe hobbies or interests you've kind of let fall by the wayside.
It's like rediscovering those sparks of excitement and curiosity that might have gotten buried under the weight of responsibilities and routine.
Exactly. And sometimes those passions might not translate directly into like a career path.
Right.
But they can still enrich your life.
Yeah.
And provide valuable insights into what truly motivates you.
Yeah. I'm starting to realize this book isn't just about surviving the job market.
No.
It's actually about designing a more fulfilling life overall.
That's a great point. And this brings us to another key concept that Chris emphasizes, the importance of continuous learning and skill development. He argues that in today's, rapidly evolving world, complacency is the enemy.
So it's not just about getting that degree or certification and calling it a day, right?
Not at all, no.
Yeah.
He talks about the need to constantly be learning, upskilling, and adapting to stay ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
And this applies whether you're, an employee looking to advance your career or an entrepreneur trying to stay competitive.
So what kind of learning does he recommend? Is it all about like formal education,
No.
like going back to school?
No, not necessarily.
Getting another degree or...
He encourages a more like holistic approach to learning.
Yeah.
He talks about taking online courses, attending workshops, reading books, listening to podcasts, anything you can do to expand your knowledge base and acquire new skills. He even emphasizes the value of, learning from mentors, colleagues, or even just experimenting on your own.
It's about, cultivating that natural curiosity and embracing the challenge of learning new things.
Yes.
Even if it's outside your comfort zone.
And the great thing is learning doesn't have to be a chore.
Right.
When you're genuinely interested in something, the process of learning becomes enjoyable.
It does.
And rewarding in itself.
I think a lot of people struggle with finding the time for all this, this learning and self-improvement.
Right.
Especially with the demands of work and life these days.
That's a valid point, and Chris acknowledges that time is a precious commodity.
Yeah.
He doesn't suggest trying to do everything at once.
Right.
He encourages starting small, maybe dedicating just 30 minutes a day to reading or taking an online course.
Yeah, it's about incorporating learning into your daily routine.
Yes.
Even if it's just, small chunks of time. And over time, those small efforts can really add up.
They do.
One thing that really struck me about Chris's approach to learning is that he encourages developing an entrepreneurial mindset.
Yes.
Even if you're not, planning to start your own business.
Right.
So what does he mean by that?
Well, he's talking about cultivating those qualities that are often associated with successful entrepreneurs.
Okay.
Like being proactive, taking initiative, thinking creatively, embracing calculated risks, and always looking for ways to improve things.
So it's about seeing, opportunities where others might see obstacles.
Yes.
Thinking outside the box and not being afraid to take action, even if it means stepping outside your comfort zone.
Exactly. And he argues that this kind of mindset can be incredibly valuable in any career path, whether you're, climbing the corporate ladder, freelancing, or starting your own venture.
It's about being adaptable,
yes,
resourceful, and always willing to learn and grow. I'm starting to see how all these pieces of the puzzle kind of fit together.
Right.
It's not just about surviving layoffs or finding a better job. It's about taking ownership of your career and your life and creating a future that's aligned with your values, your passions and your aspirations.
Absolutely. And this leads us to one of the most profound concepts that Chris explores in the book.
Right.
The idea of building a legacy, something that transcends, just earning a paycheck or climbing the corporate ladder.
Oh, wow. Okay, now I'm really intrigued. What does he mean by building a legacy?
He challenges us to think about, the the impact we want to make on the world, the mark we want to leave behind.
Okay.
It's about finding work that aligns with your values and contributes to something bigger than yourself. It's about asking yourself, what do I want to be remembered for? What kind of difference do I want to make in the world?
Wow, those are powerful questions.
Yeah.
It's about shifting your focus from what you can get to what you can give.
Exactly. And one thing that makes Chris's message so compelling is that he's not just some ivory tower expert preaching from afar.
Right.
He's walked the walk.
Yeah.
He's experienced those ups and downs of both employment and entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And he's come out stronger on the other side.
It's like he's saying, "Hey, I've been there, I've made those mistakes, I've faced those challenges, and I know you can do this too."
Yes.
And that's incredibly empowering.
And that's a perfect note to end this part of the conversation on.
Okay.
As we head into, the final section of our deep dive, I want you to think about what resonates most strongly with you from what we've discussed.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever, felt stuck in that time loop at work?
Right.
Are you looking for ways to diversify your income and build more financial security?
Mm-hmm.
And most importantly, what does building a legacy mean to you? We'll explore these questions and more as we delve into, Chris's concluding thoughts in part 3.
Okay.
So stay tuned.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We're wrapping up our exploration of the expendable employee, and I have to say, Chris really brings it all together in these final chapters. It's like he's given us this roadmap for taking control of your career and building a more fulfilling life. But then he goes a step further and challenges you to think about the bigger picture, your legacy, your impact on the world. It's pretty inspiring stuff.
It is. He doesn't just want you to find, a better job or even just become financially independent.
Right.
He wants you to create a life that has meaning, that contributes to something larger than yourself. And he doesn't shy away from the fact that this can be a challenging journey.
Right.
In fact, he even calls it breaking the cycle of insanity in his conclusion.
Yeah, that title definitely caught my attention. What exactly does he mean by a cycle of insanity?
Well, he's talking about that all too common trap of getting stuck in a rut, going from job to job, maybe even getting promotions and raises, but never really feeling fulfilled or in control of your destiny. It's like you're on this hamster wheel, working hard, but not really getting anywhere.
I think a lot of people can relate to that feeling, even those who seem successful on the surface. It's that sense of being trapped by the system, by the expectations of society, or maybe even by your own limiting beliefs.
Exactly. And Chris argues that breaking free from this cycle requires like a fundamental shift in mindset.
Okay.
It's about moving away from that feeling of being an expendable employee, just a cog in the machine, and embracing the idea of self-sufficiency and empowerment.
So how does he suggest we actually go about making that shift?
Well, he reiterates a lot of the key concepts we've already discussed. Diversifying your income, finding work that aligns with your passions, continuously learning and growing.
Yeah.
But he emphasizes that it's not just about taking these practical steps. It's also about like cultivating a deeper sense of self-reliance and taking ownership of your future.
It's about recognizing that you have the power to create the life you want.
Yes.
Even if it means, challenging the status quo or going against the grain.
Exactly. And he provides some really concrete strategies for doing just that. He talks about the importance of, setting clear goals, developing a plan, and taking consistent action, even if it's, just small steps at first.
Yeah.
He also encourages you to surround yourself with supportive people, mentors, or even just friends who believe in your vision and will cheer you on along the way.
Yeah, it's about building that network of support, both practical and emotional, to help you stay motivated and on track.
Yeah. And one thing that really struck me about this section is he doesn't sugarcoat the challenges.
Yeah.
He acknowledges that there will be, setbacks, obstacles, moments of doubt.
Of course.
But he encourages you to embrace these challenges as opportunities for growth and learning.
So it's about reframing those setbacks as stepping stones on on the path to success.
Precisely. And he reminds us that failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of the process.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
It's about learning from your mistakes, adapting your approach, and getting back up stronger than before.
It's about having that resilience.
Yes.
And that unwavering belief in yourself and your ability to achieve your goals.
And I think that brings us back to that concept of building a legacy. It's not about achieving some grand monumental feat.
Right.
It's about living your life with intention, making choices that are aligned with your values, and striving to make a positive impact on the world, however big or small.
It's about leaving the world a little bit better than you found it. Right?
Yes. Whether it's through your work, your relationships, your community involvement, or even just the way you interact with the people around you.
Right. Right.
Exactly. And Chris encourages you to define what legacy means to you.
Okay.
It's a personal journey, and there's no right or wrong answer.
I love that. It's about empowering you to create your own definition of success and fulfillment.
And that's really the heart of Chris's message in The Expendable Employee. It's about moving beyond that feeling of being expendable, of being at the mercy of circumstances,
right,
and stepping into your power as the creator of your own destiny.
It's about recognizing that you are not just an employee.
Yes.
You are a unique individual with valuable skills, experiences, and passions that you can use to shape your career, your life, and ultimately your legacy.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I'd love to leave you with one final thought from the book.
Okay.
What would you do if you had the freedom to design your own work and life?
That's a great question for all of us to consider. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Lincoln Bio podcast. Want to dive deeper into today's topic? Grab your copy now. Just click the link in the description. Stay curious, stay empowered, and we'll see you next time.